Hey guys, welcome to Addie Gets Lost. My name is Addie and I am new to Booktube. So what I'm going to be doing today is the Booktube Newbie Tag, which is a tag of about 10 questions that are designed to help you guys get to know me and also to help me kind of get started. So thank you to whoever started this trend. I'm super appreciative of it. So the first question on this list is, why did you start this channel? I have three basic main reasons why I started this channel. The first of which is that I just moved from a city in New England back to rural Oklahoma. So while I was up in Maine, because I was living in Portland, Maine, there was a lot of different distractions and a whole bunch of different stuff that was always going on. And so it really lowered my reading time, because I was like, oh, but I want to go to this concert. Oh, but I want to go try this restaurant. Oh, but I want to go shopping. Oh, but all kinds of different things and different events and all kinds of stuff going on. And so when I got back home, because I moved back to my hometown in Northwest Oklahoma, I no longer had any of those other kinds of distractions or anything. So I started reading a whole bunch of books, because it's my preferred distraction. But I'm so used to not having all of the other stuff that I felt like I needed to do that the whole time I was up there. So I was in Maine for about 2 years, and then I've moved back. And so I have just been reading a ton and a ton and a ton. The second thing that was a huge contribution to why I decided to do this was that when I got back, I was cleaning out my bookcases to make some room for the stuff that I bought while I was up there. And I ended up getting rid of a whole bunch of books by giving them to my cousin, who is 10 and is just wildly enthusiastic about reading and different stories and everything. And I was just so impressed and just had so much fun talking about the Percy Jackson series with her. It's her all-time favorite, and it was just wildly fun for me to be a part of a conversation that was just full throttle enthusiastic about something that we both completely knew about. And I grew up on Percy Jackson, so I knew that stuff. And just to see that she's so into it, really just, I felt it in my heart. I was like, oh, I love you, child. Thank you for bringing this kind of joy back into my life. So that kind of prompted me to see if maybe I could, join the internet community that talks about books, because I need that kind of enthusiasm in my life, and other people that are enthusiastic about books, this is where they congregate. So that was really important. And then after I kind of decided that I wanted to kind of maybe do this, I didn't know if I wanted to do a blog or a vlog or anything. So I went to social media and I put on my Instagram story a question, was would anybody be interested in a book blog or a book vlog where I just, read a bunch of books and talk about them, and, really do recommendations and stuff like that. And I had several people respond and be like, yes, you should totally do that. So all of those people encouraging me really just got me up and off and running on this whole idea. So thank you to all of them, and also to my cousin, who just reminded me that I love to talk about books. Second question is, what are some fun and unique things that I can bring to Booktube? And really, honestly, I am a white girl with brown hair and a striped shirt from what is literally the H&M Basics department, and I like to read books and talk about them. So I don't think that I'm particularly unique in any kind of type of way. I do have a degree in creative writing, but I feel like that's just a subset of people in the bookish community and the booktube community, because there's so many great booktubers that are I'm also writing my own book. And that's just wonderful. And I'm really happy to be, a part of that part of the community as well. And then I just am really wanting to have a lot of fun on my channel. So I'm hoping that if I have a lot of fun and I do a lot of fun things, then other people will also have fun, and that's really all I can ask for. So I don't know that I'm particularly unique, but I'm gonna try to be fun, and that is what I'm going to be bringing to Booktube. The next question is, what are you most excited about for the new channel? Of course, the answer is the community. Everybody is always excited about the community. That's why we're here, is to discuss books with other people. And so, that's a big part. The part of it that I'm really excited about beyond that is that I get to learn a new skill set. I'm all about, that Renaissance man, enlightenment kind of type thing. I'm always wanting to learn new things. I may not master them, but I, want to be at least aware and know how to do them a little bit. And I feel like YouTube as a general just entity has been something that's been completely out of my grasp for so long, that I'm so excited to just kind of get my hands in the dirt and dig around and try it out and everything. So learning how to film, learning how to talk to a camera, learning how to video edit, learning how to do like all of that stuff is going to be so fun, I think, and I'm really excited about it. I'm kind of flying through these questions. That's going to be really good. Anyway, the next question is, why do you love reading? I really attribute my love of reading to my mother. She's a basketball coach, and so she coaches from 5th grade all the way up to 12th grade. And so she is gone like 4 of the 5 school nights of the week. And so when I was younger, she was super worried that I would not be very good at reading and not be able to do my homework and be like just having to struggle. And she was worried about it because she didn't think she had time with her job to actually sit down and help me with my homework if I needed that kind of help. And so she really worked very hard to make me love reading and like really like build up my reading comprehension skills. And I am so thankful to her for that. And then like kind of the emotional aspect of why I love reading is that I feel like reading just makes my life better. Like when bad things happen and I'm reading a lot, it's a lot easier for me to deal with those things. So when bad things happen and I'm not able to escape into some other world or some other story or some other thing where somebody's dealing with a problem and they can figure it out and they get a resolution at the end, then it's really difficult for me to deal with problems if I don't have something like that. So that's why I currently love reading, I think. The next one I'm really excited about because I'm going to have kind of a weird answer, and I'm pretty excited to share it. So the next question is, what book or series got you into reading? I would have to say the first thing that I was really attached to reading was The Little Match Girl. This was before I could read, but it was the book that I always reached for to have my mom read to me at night or anytime we had a break. And I fully think that it's because we had a beautifully illustrated version of that book, but also I kind of think that whole story in general, if you know the story, it's about a girl who kind of, I think, ends up freezing to death at the end of it, but I didn't know that when I was a child. I just thought she was going to hang out with her grandma and it was going to be a good time. So there really just didn't seem to be anything wrong with that story to me. It was beautifully illustrated, a lot of blues and sad, melancholy looking stuff, but that's just kind of the aesthetic I curate. And then I was really into the American Girl books, mostly because there was a protagonist named Addie, and I have been called Addie my entire life, and I loved her. So I read all of her stories, and then I read all of the rest of the stories and kind of fell in love with history that way. And so there's that one. And then this is the book that I think that I'm really excited to share with you guys. But I think that one of the biggest contributing factors to the books or series that got me into reading and really just kind of kept me there was this book series. It's called Avalon Web of Magic. So it's about these 3 girls that live next to a wooded area that, if you go into it, turns into like an alternate universe where it's magical, it's mythical, there are unicorns, there are mermaids, there is any kind of magical anything that you can think of. And this girl right here is Adrian. She was my favorite character. She had this friend that could travel between worlds that was a wolf, a shadow wolf, and that's how she traveled. And her name was Stormbringer, and I thought that was the coolest thing on the planet for probably like 4 years, and way longer than I should have been obsessed with it, but I loved it. And then after that, I got into Harry Potter, and that was that on that. Anyway, this book series was super great for me when I was in middle grade reading era kind of type thing. So if anybody else has read this or remembers it or has ever even seen it, like, can you comment and talk to me about it? Because I just loved it so much, like so much so that like I know that my cousin would love this, but I will not pass it on to her because I like have such a nostalgic for it. So I would love to talk about this with somebody. Anyway, yeah, so that was that on that question. The next question is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? The first question that I would ask my favorite booktuber is, hey, can we be friends? And I would be the annoying shy kid that was just like, oh, I love you guys so much. Can we be friends? So that would be the first question. My second question would probably be, what are your feelings on Stevie Nicks? Because I need to know if I can trust you. And if you don't like Stevie Nicks, I don't think I can do that. So that would be my next question. And then my third question that I would ask would be, what is the biggest lesson you've learned by failing failing at something doing booktube. And I like just love an epic fail story because I always feel like the epic fails are the things that teach you the most about like what you're doing or who you are or how your style has come about or something like that. And I just feel like each individual story would be amazing. So those would be my 3 questions that I would ask my favorite booktubers. The next question is, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? My first thing that I think is going to be really hard to overcome is going to be like figuring out scheduling. And that's just like a technical aspect of everything. And I feel like anybody that does booktube probably feels the same way, because not only do you have to like have interesting videos, you have to have the concept for videos, you have to shoot the videos, you have to edit the videos, and then you have to like upload them to YouTube, and you've got to, on top of all of that, read the freaking book so you have the content. And I am super excited about doing that, but also I think it's going to be super challenging. So I am going to like have to take some time and figure out and like really plan out what I'm exactly going to do. But I think that's a challenge that's going to be like part of the fun of doing this, so it's going to be great. The second challenge that I'm really looking forward to is like just being fun and creative. I want to really challenge myself to do that. And so I am hoping that if, you know, I can make things that are fun and that I feel are creative, that other people might enjoy them as well. And that is kind of what I think is going to be the biggest challenges here. And then the next question is, when did you start reading? I started reading, I know, in preschool. I went 3 years though, so that is not shocking at all. So somewhere between 3 and 6 years old, I learned how to read. And I specifically have a very vivid memory of crawling under the table in the church that we were having preschool in because they hadn't moved it to the school yet, and crawling under a table there, and it had a tablecloth, and I was reading a book about colors, and then I fell asleep under the table and they didn't find me all through the morning. And so then when my mom came to pick me up, they were like, we don't know where Addie is. And so they had to go like search everywhere, and I was just curled up under the table with a book, asleep. And if that is not like the biggest brand ever for my life, like that's me exactly. So yeah, that's when I started reading. And then the next question is going to be, where do you read? I read basically anywhere. I have no, well, I mean, I have a preference, but like, I don't really care if I'm reading an ebook or if I'm reading an audiobook or if I'm reading a physical book. Like, I prefer a physical book, but sometimes it's just, you got to get your ebooks out and do that thing, or just like listen to it while you're driving. But my favorite thing is to read while other people are driving on like longish road trips. So like I mentioned before, I'm in a rural area, and so the nearest major metropolitan area is about 2 hours away. And so when I was little, I was playing basketball, and so I spent like a ton of time in a car driving to and from basketball practices and basketball games and basketball tournaments, like all kinds of things. And so my mom and I would just hop in the car and turn on the pop music that does not reach my town because we were in a bowl and all of the signals drop off right outside of town. Yeah, so we would hop in the car, listen to the music, and I would read a book. And I spent most of my childhood doing that. So that's my like absolute favorite place to read. Buses are a close second on the transportation scale because of basketball again. And then my second favorite place to read just in general, and it's not really a place, but it's just like an activity. I like to read with, like, especially if I'm reading an ebook or something that I don't have to hold the pages. I love to read while playing guitar. I'm just now learning how to play guitar, and so I will sit down and I will practice my chords or like a scale or something while I'm reading. And when it's just time to swipe to go to the next page, I will just stop strumming and swipe real quick and move on. And that's just like something that is really good for me because it keeps my hands busy and it keeps my attention focused in on the book because I'm doing something else while also doing that. And then like a third place that I think that I really like to read is just in front of any kind of other media. I really like watching hockey games, but intermission is like a prime time for me to be into a book. And yeah, that's that on that. The last question on this list is gonna be, what kind of books do you like to read? And I don't really know the answer to this one yet because I haven't really like delved really deep into my reading tastes. I have been reading like all kinds of things forever. I started off with fairy tales, moved to historical fiction, moved to like biographies, moved to magical stuff. So I'm not super into the like Tolkien style fantasy stuff because I just can't deal with getting bogged down with all of the details. So that's one thing I don't like, I guess. But as much as I was reading like Harry Potter or Percy Jackson or Aragon or anything else that, you know, is like super magical, mystical, I was reading just as much like Princess Diaries and Sarah Dessen books and all kinds of stuff like that. So, you know, I historically have been just kind of all over the place. If you have written something that is like well crafted and well put together, I will generally be like, that was pretty good, I'm into it. But the things that really get me are just really poignant, just straight in the feels, emotional things. Like if your characters are like getting into it deep, like I love that. And I feel like that's a thing that transcends genre sometimes. So that's kind of what I'm always looking for, is if I can just really connect with a character's emotions. Yeah, the things that I don't like in reading, besides the Tolkien or style writing, is I'm not super into like really like heavy physical intimacy romance. I love a romance novel, but like I want it to be light and fluffy instead of, you know, like hardcore going for it. So there's that. And then the other thing that I'm not super into is horror, but I will take a horror story written over a horror story watched any day of the week, because I either internalize it and have nightmares for the rest of my life, or I just think it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And so I don't know, I just don't get thrilled by horror very often. But I will say I have been known to occasionally pick up a book. So, and like thrillers are pretty great. Anyway, I'm gonna like go ahead and wrap this up. But if you know of any like middle grade books that it would be really cool to share with my cousin, I would be super interested in hearing about that. And also, if again, if you've ever heard of Avalon Web of Magic, like please comment below, because I need to know that somebody else out there knows that that exists. Yeah, if you are having a good time and you are interested in sticking around and seeing what I'm putting out, go ahead and subscribe, and I will talk to you later. See you guys. Bye. What is that doing? Forget it. Whatever, it's just hair.